Cool. I think we can get started, right?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining this session, and I truly appreciate your time over a weekend. I'm Sangeeth Harishankar. I work as a senior manager with Walmart Global Tech and is also a replaced mentor. So today I would be talking about the data engineering journey, uh, basically talking about the different tools and technologies that is there in this stack, the landscape. I'll also give a brief about the roadmap, right? So if you are someone who really want to excel in this space, in this data engineering space, this course is for you. So as you guys are aware, data is everything now, right? That's the most valuable asset for an organization, which helps that organization make better decision based on the data, whatever they have accumulated over the years. And if you look at the evolution of data over years, right, it's massive. Say on 2010, you can see we were dealing with 2 zettabytes of data. Zettabyte is nothing but 10 raised to 21 of a byte. And as years pass by, say now we are in 2024 and we are at 147 zettabytes, which is massive. So with this growing data, right, over years, we need to build some systems in place that can really handle this massive data, right? That's where this data engineers comes into the play. And if you look at the second graph, you can see the fastest growing tech occupation, right? And data engineers stand right on top. And that's because of this. So there are a lot of companies who really have got a lot of issues in their, say, the ecosystem, what are they have built over years, which are unable to scale based on this data, massive data that grows over time, right? That's where this data engineers really pitch into those organizations and help in, you know, having a seamless flow. Moving on. So let's quickly understand the data engineering landscape itself. So there are different components when you are dealing with data engineering. You have the heterogeneous data sources, right? That could be some transactional data, right? Or it could be some order information. If you try to do some, say, purchase in Amazon, Flipkart, right? So that could be a transaction, right? Could be considered as a data source. There would be signals coming from the aircraft, right? There could be the data coming from some trading systems. It could be from some IoT system, right? There could be a lot of systems which can really pump in data, right? So all of that we consider as data source. And this data source can be stored, say, in some databases, or if you have built some systems, right? It could be consumed through some APIs. You can have, say, structured, unstructured data as some files, right? Some images. All of those are data sources. Then you have something called data pipelines. That is where you actually build or you do the heavy lifting of processing the data, whatever you have. So you have the data source, then you have to build some data pipeline, which actually consume from those data source and put it in a way that you really can uh, bring some meaning out of the data, right? You need to get some insight out of the data. That's where this data pipeline comes into the play. And then you have the analytics and visualization. So once you have the data in a form which is good to be consumed, good to be used to predict something in future, right? Or to do some reporting, that's where this analytics and visualization comes into the play. So this, so if you just listen to this, it's just 3 components, but it's massive. This landscape is massive. One example being, if you look at the open source data engineering landscape for 2024, so all of these are the different tools or frameworks which are there in the industry, which pretty much does this data engineering job. Okay. So you have to be really smart in picking and choosing what are the tools you really need to learn, which will really contribute, right, in your interviews and do a great job at your work. So just to give a quick glimpse of these, different categories, You have the storage system coming on top. So the different variants of storages, right from our traditional OLTP, say RDBMS, to the distributed SQLs. Then you have something called cache store, right? How do you quickly store data for faster processing? Then you have something called in-memory SQL DB, right? You have document store, the NoSQL databases, the graph databases, distributed key value database, right? Then you have search engines. If you build a UI and you want to quickly grab some data from your backend DB to give it, right? Or if you want to enable some kind of a search capability within your UI, right? The search engine DBs help you there. Then you have streaming databases. You have time series DB, right? And with all this AI ML coming into the play, you have something called vector databases. So it's a massive thing. Okay, so you have to be really smart in picking and choosing which one to learn, which one to upskill, which one you should really do a deep dive, which one you should be a master of, all trades. All right, all of that comes into the play. Then you have a data lake platform. That's where you really build your data warehouse. Right? Then you have a data integration layer. So when you have your data sources, how do you uh, integrate that data source with your computation layer so that things can happen seamlessly, right, in an automated manner. Then you have the data processing layer. That's where the real heavy lifting happens. All your business or functional use cases, right, gets added on top of your data to bring that meaningful messages. You have to orchestrate your workflow, that I want to schedule this job to run on a given time or based on an event. Or for that, this workflow engines comes into the play. Then you have something for the data infrastructure and monitoring, right? There are different non-functional requirements like the logging, monitoring, data security, data governance, right? All of those pieces comes into the play in this section. Then you have the trending AI ML platform where you can really build some models, right? The Gen AI, leverage Gen AI to predict something on the fly or build something for you, all of that, right? Then you have something called metadata management. So if you have a big data warehouse, you have a lot of tables, say different objects, you need to expose those metadata to your team, to your pillars, right? So that they should be able to understand your data and build some meaningful insights out of it. So that's where this metadata management comes into the play. Then you have this analytics and visualization where you can build some cool dashboards, some self-service dashboards or pre-canned dashboards so that our executives can just see how well are we performing and can predict the future, how things are going to be. Moving forward, let's do a deep dive into the data sources, right? So as I mentioned, there are like heterogeneous data sources. It could be some databases, APIs, or some real-time events, structured, unstructured data. So, right. So you have to. The first thing is you have to catalog these data sources. In a way, you should be able to understand the breadth and depth of your data landscape. So it's really important that being a data engineer, you should really understand all data landscape. Only then you can, uh, you know, you can upskill in the area. Being an architect, all that, right? You should be able to see the holistic view of how things are. Next is to assess the data quality of it. That is where you evaluate the accuracy or completeness or the timeliness of your data, right? Just to ensure that the data which you have is reliable, trustworthy, to even build a solution out of it. Next is to define the data requirement. You have to collaboratively work with your stakeholders, your product managers, right? And tell them that, okay, these are the different data you have and what are the different solutions that you can really solve. So there would be definitely some business use cases which people would have discovered. So collaboratively, you can really define some good product stories and work upon that. Next is to prioritize and plan, right? So focus on those critical data elements, build those critical data requirements, and build a build a foundational data model using the data you have, so that you can build on top of it in different iterations. moving on. Uh, Next is about designing a robust data pipeline, right? So this is where uh, you really do your heavy lifting. You should first ingest the data from your different data sources, put that into a layer, right, which where this data processing can really happen. There are a lot of frameworks which really does this data processing, right? Like you might have heard about Hadoop, Spark, some of the cloud platforms and all that, right? So you can do those data computation, right? And then finally you store the data into some meaningful uh, store, so that it can be used for your downstream solutions, used for analytics, reporting, right? Or it could be for anything. So building a robust data pipeline is a key, and we would be using a lot of tools to even do that. So in the meanwhile, I have a question for all of you. Let me put that on the chat just to get a pulse of how you guys are doing. So I put a question on the chat. So if you guys can take maybe a few seconds and answer, what are the challenges which an organization is facing? Because I talked about the different data sources, the different data pipelines which are there, right? I'm happy to hear from you guys. You guys think are the common problems an organization is facing, right? Where a real need of data engineer is there. Okay, Anushka is saying not able to get clear trend through data. Good. Albus is saying sharing and accessing data. Okay, good. What else are you guys feeling? There are plenty of problems, right, within an org where you really need to pitch in and solve their problems. Santosh is saying huge volume and different types of data like unstructured, structured data. Yes, so definitely we should have the organization should be equipped with that uh, ecosystem to even handle those variants of data in that huge scale. Definitely.
Sangeeth, can you please ask the question again?
Sorry, what is that?
Can you please repeat the question so that the new people who have joined can also jump in?
Sure. Yeah, I just put that on the chat again. So basically, to a get your feedback on the challenges an organization is facing, right, with this big data, where data engineers really stand out in solving them. I see more and more people are joining. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, what you guys have mentioned is right. Uh, so basically, the organization should be able to have that ecosystem, right, to handle big data flowing through the different variants of data, right? The variety, the veracity, the volume, all the four V's, right, which comes. Uh, so they should have those environment to handle that. Uh, they should have those engineers in place who can build those data applications to even process data, right? Using distribute compute and all that. So that's where, yeah, the data engineer stands out, and we are there to solve all their problems. Moving back to the slide.
Sangeeth, there is a question in the chat box. Can you please?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Uh, Ayush, it's about CSC or ECE, right? So it's your passion. So if you really want to get skilled understanding those, ICs and robotics and things, cool stuff, you can go with ECE. But if you're really looking for getting into software industry, right, CSC is definitely going to help you out. That's why you're going to learn more about the programming aspect, the data structures, algorithms, right? All of that you will learn more if you go with CSC. It's up to your, aspiration, which area you want to get skilled. Okay, I see another question. How much important DSA for data scientist? Yeah, it is really important now. Earlier, data scientists used to uh, be a statistician, right? They can just look at model building, but nowadays market has evolved so that you really need to be a good software engineer. For that, you need to be skilled in DSA to, solve or build and deploy those good models. How to fetch data from multiple APIs in parallel and move to Postgres. Okay, that's a use case, Irfan. We can talk about it in our one-to-one setting. All right, let's move back to our content. Cool. So yeah, we talked about building a robust data pipeline. So these are the different components which we have. Data ingestion layer, where you really need to pull in data from different data sources. You do your transformations, do the cleansing, enriching, right, as part of your data processing layer, and then you move to the data storage. You push things into your data, efficient data storage, right, so that it can be consumed for better decision making. And also on the data processing layer, right, you can process your data in different ways. You can build batch jobs like the traditional banking systems, right, where a job would be running, say, at the end of the day, which would be handling large volumes of data, right? That is kind of a traditional way of doing it, batch processing. Then you have streaming processes. As and when the data arrives, your system just process the data, right? You might have seen those recommendation engines in Flipkart, Amazon. If you are uh, purchasing something, you would be getting some, recommendation that, okay, you might be liking this. All of that is where the streaming comes into the play. You have data transformation, which is a key within your data processing, where you would be really enriching your data, right, cleansing your data, keeping it in a way that the data quality of your data is maintained and is good to be consumed, right, for building those business or deriving those business insights. The next key thing to be kept in mind is the scalability and resilience when you are dealing with this data processing. As I mentioned, the data is growing at a massive scale. You have to ensure that your system, what you have built, is horizontally and vertically scalable, so that your data, asks are handled, right? And having a resilient uh, platform so that it won't just burn out with the growing, requirement. Moving on to the data visualization and analytics. So this is where we really build some interactive dashboards, self-service BI, right, for people to just build whatever they want from the data, whatever we have built. right? In our data warehouse, you can build some pre-canned custom reports for your senior leadership just to see how well are we doing, right? Or they can even take better decision based on those ready-made data that are available. You can predict things for future using those AI ML techniques, right? You can look at the historical trend. You can consider those seasonal parameters, hyperparameters, and see how well are we gonna do later on, right, in future, so that you can be well equipped in handling all those future orders or customers. And next is on the data precision. So once you have those data kept in a very good way using a strong data model, you should be able to derive insight out of it. So I would be taking questions in between. So feel free to post your questions. I'll take it in batches. So just to give a gist about the common or popular frameworks which you guys would be aware of, right? Or if you really want to step in, right? Or if you want to switch from your current job to, say, a job of a data engineer, or if you're a fresher, right? So these are some of those tools and frameworks which you should be aware of. The landscape which I showed you earlier, the huge one, right? Learning everything would be quite difficult, right? Even for me. So that's why you have to be really smart. So I just put some idea about some of those tools which would be really helpful, and I can even help you out in your journey, right? Talking about each of these tools, where you should do a deep dive. What are the the enterprise standard for you to really perform or crack some of those top companies? What all skill set you should get equipped with? The subset of data, subset of skill sets which you should have, right? All of that. So you should be good in some of the programming languages. Say you should be good in either Python, Scala, or Java. You should be good in SQL. Good to have some insight about the scripting languages, the shell scripting, Perl scripting, and all that. There are different cloud platforms which are there in the market: AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So good to have some idea about that. There are plenty of big data frameworks, right? That does those data integration, building those data processing layer. So these are few of it. You can have some idea about Hadoop, Spark, Storm, right? Flink. There are a lot of tools in the market. Good to have some idea about the different DBs which are there. Say MySQL, the traditional RDBMS, the NoSQL databases, right? All of that will really help you out in the long run. Good to have some exposure to some of those ETL orchestration layer, say Airflow, right? And there are some uh, PaaS offering that comes out of the cloud. Good to have some exposure to that as well, which will really help you out. Some of those data warehouses, Google BigQuery, Snowflake, right? Amazon Redshift. So this is kind of a gist of those popular frameworks, which if you guys can get skilled, will really help you out. Moving forward, so even if you get skilled, right, in some of those tools, it's not the end. So this data engineering field itself is like just growing day by day. Every day you are seeing some new tools with some optimizations on top of it, right? So it's a continuous improvement. You really need to review your data engineering practices, identify the areas of improvement, some of the things to make your life much easier. The Gen AI, which recently came up, right? You don't have to write a lot of code. You don't have to write a lot of test cases. If you know how to deal with it, right? It will just make your life much easier. You don't need to spend a lot of time. So definitely you should be a good learner. Identify those areas of improvement, which will help, improve your productivity and also reduce the cost for your organization. Incorporate new technologies, as I mentioned, upskill yourself, right? Get a feel of those new technologies that comes in the market, and try to evaluate them and embed in your skill set. Next is about fostering the collaboration. So even being engineers, even if you guys build something, it's very important that you communicate that effectively to your stakeholders, to your business, right? So that they make the most out of what you have built and be used for efficient, decision making. Cool. So I believe this is one slide which most of you guys might be really interested about the roadmap of data engineering, right? So that's why I just put it. Uh, so it's a long journey. Okay. So for you to really succeed in data engineering, there are different aspects or different disciplines which you have to follow. First and foremost is you have to have some to programming, right? It could be Python, R, Java, Scala. You should be good in SQL, structured query language. You should be good in some scripting languages, say like Linux commands or shell scripting, right? All that, right? So that is something which you should start with. Then you should have some understanding about the databases. What are their relational databases, the NoSQL databases, the vector databases, right? I was talking about it in our landscape slide, right? So some exposure on the database is much needed. Something on the cloud fundamentals, the different cloud platforms which are trending in the market, the different PaaS offering, right? Uh, because all this cloud platform gives you those infra for you to build things right from day one. You don't need to set up your data centers, right? Have a lot of admin people. All of those are simplified if you have those cloud platforms. So all the companies really rely on this cloud platform, and that's why you have to be really strong in all those areas. Next is on the storage, right? The different storage solutions, whether you are putting that into some say RDBMS solutions or lakehouse or data warehouse, right? Or based on your requirement, whether you really want to have some analytics processing or transactional processing, oil AP, oil TP, right? All of that. Then next is about the skill set to build data pipelines. So there are many tools which you can learn, right, to build your data pipeline, schedule straight things. So data pipelines is a key part, is a core part for being a data engineer. Data processing, how do you use tools like Spark, say Flink or Hadoop to process your data, right? Data processing is a key part. Then about understanding some of those big data technologies, like if you want to really build a massive querying engine, right? Or if you want to build a UI which can cater your customers to quickly search something on your website, right? Or if you want to build a blogging website, right? It could be anything. It could be any of your startup ideas itself. If you want to build a startup, it's always good to have those data technologies, uh, at your side, which can definitely help you the way you really think, right? It helps you understand the whole ecosystem and can take better decision making from your side itself. So it's a massive thing. Next is you should be also really good at data governance and security. Right now, with all those hackers around, ransomware, and a lot of things around, right? You should be really good in safeguarding your data, putting those data mask and data setting up those data policies in place so that only the people who are authorized to view your data can only see it. There won't be any kind of ingestion happening from the outside world, which can steal data from your site, right? Which can end up messing your whole ecosystem. So data governance, security, it's a very crucial for all the organizations these days, and there are a lot of tools and technologies in place, right, to implement that. Next is infrastructure as code. So there are some of the tools like Kubernetes, Terraform, which pretty much help you build your infra as a code. So you can push your code in GitHub, which will manage your infra, right? So it's kind of an advanced concept. If you are really good in DevOps or CI/CD aspect of it, that's where this infra as code comes in. It's really elevate your maturity in all those aspects. So if you are a senior engineer, right, and if you really want to transition to a lead or a manager role, this infra as a code and all will really help you out. So this might looks bit overwhelming for majority of the people, but that's all right. That's how it is, right? So that's where I'm here. I do set up one-to-one mentorship session in pre-placed where I can help you upskill in all of these different aspects, whatever I just talked about, right? That could be about upskilling in some of those different aspects which you guys really don't have an exposure on what it is, or even if you're a data engineer, right? Say who has 6 year, 7 year experience and wants to really grow, be a data architect. Some of those advanced concepts, I can help you upskill in there. Some of those design or solution design, system design, right? Some of those interview aspect where you really need to build something from scratch based on the different tools which are there in the market. So way of thinking, your interpersonal skills, right? All of that comes into the play if you want to crack those kind of interviews or even solve those kind of things in your day-to-day job, right? So I can definitely help you out in all those aspects. So next is on the resume review. So if you're someone who is really looking at transitioning right from your current job to a different company or a different work stream, different domain, right? I can help you build a solid resume, right, which can really catch all those recruiters, because I have been in the industry for over 10 years. I have been with 4 or 5 companies and I know how things work. uh, Next is to have a solid LinkedIn profile. uh, LinkedIn is kind of a trending website now where us are there. So it's really important that you really build a strong profile, you really build a strong brand about yourself. So I can definitely help you how you can strongly build your brand in LinkedIn, which can definitely elevate your chance of cracking interviews or even get an exposure, right, to get a call for those interviews. I also guide people take mock interviews so that even if they have an interview planned, say next week, right, they are confident about how that setting is going to be for a real interview by giving some pointers and also talking about some of those technical aspects of it. So that's about it. So why to wait now? You guys can go to my page. I'll put this link on the chat as well. Have a look at my page and you can set up one-to-one long-term mentoring with me so that I can definitely help you excel in your career journey. All right. So I can take up some of the questions if you guys have any, put it in the chat. Let me also post my mentoring link onto the chat so that you can have a look. Okay, I see a question. Any fresher open in this field, how to find or get a real-time project? Cool. Yeah, so this field is pretty huge. There are a lot of jobs open in the market. If you go to LinkedIn or if you go to, say, Naukri, or right, there are plenty of jobs available in this market. And if you are also interested to do some kind of a freelance job, right, that is also there. You can definitely pick up some kind of real time project, a real world project, and you know that can really help you out in the long run. Getting those exposure is really going to help. Anushka, I see a question: how a fresher prepare for the data engineering interview? So that is where the roadmap comes into the play. You should be good with those different skill set. And I would recommend if you can set up those one-to-one mentoring with me, where I can help you create a customized roadmap for you, right? Because the skill set would be different for everyone. So as with this long-term mentoring, which is there in pre-placed, I would ensure that each of your challenges or pain points are addressed, and I can help create that customized roadmap, and we can work it out every week on a one-to-one connect, right, and help you succeed in your career. I see a question from Shobit, why we prefer data science over web development. Okay. So I believe this question um, is about the relevance of data science over web development. If that is the case, that's not the case. We really need web development as well. Data science can really, you know, play a key role in doing some of the aspect within your web development itself. So even during the web development, you can generate your code, you can generate your test cases using some of those AI techniques, right? You can do effective code reviews using some of those data science aspect of it. And even if you're building a website, right, you can build some recommendation engines. You can look at the customer trend, right? Redirect people, have a chatbot in place. All of these can be built using data science. So even if you have a even if you are a web developer, right, having those data experience will be a value add in upskilling. Now with this Gen AI and AI ML being the trend, right, it's really needed that whichever discipline you are in your career, you really need to have a skill set of data, right? It could be data engineering, data science, AI ML, prompt engineering, right? You really need to have that skill set, which will definitely help you have a smooth journey in your career. Okay, I see a question from Om. BCS students to go to in product company based on for, for data scientist. Yeah, definitely. BCS students can also go. It's about how relevant, right, is your skill set. So even if you are a BCS student, take time to learn about data science, right? Machine learning, all that. Try to have that skill set in your resume, right? Try to pick up some part-time jobs, maybe a freelance job, and prove that even at the time of interview, you really know what you're talking about, right? That maturity really stands out when you attend these interviews. So that's where having this mentorship will really help out, because I can really talk about some of the real world project which I have worked on, right, on a day-to-day basis, which can really help you out even in your storytelling ability, right? So whichever discipline it is, you might be having a lot of questions. So having a mentor will really help you bridge all those gaps and really uh, build confidence, boost confidence. We can even look at the feedback from your interviews and can take proactive actions in succeeding. Any roadmap? I see one from Tausif. Hey Tausif, any roadmap for newly graduated students who are trying to find job? Yes, I do have some roadmap. So Tausif, I would recommend if you can set up a one-to-one connect with me where I can talk about the different, you know, uh, different job markets which are there, right? Even within IT, what are the different areas which you can focus, say from a software engineer to a data analyst to a technical consultant to a ML engineer, right? There are a lot of disciplines within the IT, so I can help you out in that. We prefer data analysis and Power BI. Pick one. Okay, so Lakshmi Narayana, so Power BI can be used for data analysis. Okay, so there are a lot of other tools like Tableau, Apache Superset, right? There are plenty of tools which we can use for data analysis. So yeah, if you want to know more about the data analyst journey, right? Not the data engineer or data science, yeah, feel free to set up a one-to-one connect with me. I can help you in all those aspects. Say whether you want to succeed in data software engineering discipline, a web development discipline, machine learning, or data analyst, right? Or maybe an operations support, whatever discipline you want to succeed, right? I can definitely build that roadmap for you and I can guide you, in achieving that. I can see, Anusri, you are in your second semester of your college life, how to get started with preparation of data science. Cool. So that's where you should really get upskilled. You should be good in mathematics, some of the statistics, right? You should be good with some of those libraries which are commonly used for data science projects. So if you really want to have those tailor-made roadmap, I would recommend you set up a one-to-one with me. I can definitely clarify all those and we can take it from there. From all my have, I can see I have a complete Python, NumPy, continue learning in data science, but interview के लिए which topics are important in data science. Okay. Yeah, what are you learning? It's really cool. All of these are really needed. Python, NumPy, and there are a lot of aspects. That data science itself is a very big landscape. Like data engineering, there are plenty of things in data science discipline which you need to really focus on. Some of those libraries, right? The different kinds of learning, machine learning. Within machine learning, you can do supervised, unsupervised, right? Deep learning techniques, regression techniques. Now this Gen AI is the top trending skill to have. So bit of understanding on Gen AI, uh, some of the augmented techniques, right? Enhanced prompt. So it's a very big discipline. So you really need to, you know, get upskilled in some of those areas. Have a strong roadmap because roadmap is where uh, that will define whether how quickly are we going to achieve your role, right? Because the landscape is huge. If you try to learn everything, right, taking few months time to succeed, it's a very long journey. You are going to take minimum 1 to 2 years to succeed, which we really don't want, right? That's where this mentorship program, this long-term mentorship program will really help you out build those curated, roadmap, which can definitely guide you, right? Say this week, this is your target area, right? So I would be reviewing all the things which you do, right, and give the feedback, and we will put up some action plans for the upcoming weeks. Thereby, we ensure that right. I ensure that you will succeed in your career. Where we find, I see something from Lakshmi Narayana, where we find complete company wish check facing challenges. Okay. So some of the things you can find in Google, right? Internet is huge. You can find a lot of things. You can find a lot of self-paced learning, right? All those company problems. Even if you take up some of the courses, that's where people will talk about some of the company's challenges. But people really don't tell you how to solve them, right? Uh, so that is where you get overwhelmed with the kind of things which are there. Even in some of those freelance jobs, right? People will just talk about those problem statements, but you really need to use your skill set to solve them, right? That's where having a mentorship program will help you out, and it really helps you out in learning things pretty quick, solving all your queries pretty quick, because those are some of the areas which pretty much takes time. People get overwhelmed, people get lazy, people get lost with their day-to-day job, right? So you really need to keep track of what you're doing, have some regular checkpoints, right? So that you are on track and can succeed in your career pretty quick. So I am always looking at boosting your career, right, at the very early stage itself, instead of taking a lot of time, spending a lot of time in learning, and then you might even forget some of the things which you learned, right? So you have to really uh, excel right from day one, right? So uh, project, any prefer website? Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of websites where you can learn. right? There are a lot of self-paced learning, classroom trainings, and all that. So even as part of this mentorship program, I would be definitely recommending you some of those, websites, and uh, I can even do some of those classroom training as well. Right? So all of that help you out. And Lakshmi Dharana, just to name few, right? You have Coursera, you have Udemy, you have LinkedIn Learning. There are a lot of websites where you can learn. But just doing the self-paced learning alone might not help you out. That's my point. How important is English speaking in tech industry in India? Good question. Yeah, you have to be good uh, as you step up in your career, right? That's where it really plays a role. If you are a junior developer, English speaking is not that much needed. You can, if you are really good in what you do, say from your programming or from your skill set, you can still crack some of those interviews and get in. But as you grow up in your career, right, that's where the communication skill, you should be able to manage a team, you should be able to manage your stakeholders, right, you should be able to manage, talk to the four in the box people, your program managers, product managers, right, the UI UX researchers. And if you really want to, say if you are if you are a data analyst or data scientist, you really want to communicate your story, right, from your presentation, right? So at that point, this English speaking definitely play a huge role. So the tactical speaking, interpersonal skills, and all that, right? I can help you out in that as well in our one-to-one mentoring. Any more questions, anyone? Yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the session. Okay, I see someone has raised a hand. Any question, Shobit? Okay, I see a question. How much time to complete a data science course? So it depends on at what stage are you in now. If you already know some of those aspect of a data analyst or a data engineer, for you to succeed as a data scientist, it will take say three to 6 months. If you are pretty new to that space, then yeah, understanding those concepts and all might take a bit more time. So again, I would recommend having a mentor will really help you out in building those or getting those curated roadmap and help you succeed in your career. So I'm putting the link again of my mentorship program, so you guys can check it out and feel free to set up one-to-one session with me where we can talk more about your aspiration, your challenges, right? And I can help you succeed in your career. All right. I hope you all have a session. Any more questions? Thanks, Anushka. Thanks, Robert. Some of the authors on machine learning recommend sites. So I would recommend there are few websites going through Medium, some of the technology websites, do some trainings, right? But again, training might look a bit overwhelming. Some of the self-paced learning might look overwhelming because there are a lot of concept. So having a mentor who really work day in and day out in all of these aspects will make your life much easier. It will be a easy going task for you. Uh, this is Arni. I'm pursuing BCA, EDA, and data analytics, but I want to learn ML and is to crack a DE. Okay, cool. So yeah, hi Arif. I do see your concern. So it's good that you have some idea on the EDA aspect of it. I would recommend setting a one-to-one call with me where I can help you build that roadmap. What are the key items to be focused on for you to be a data engineer or data science scientist, right? So there are few disciplines which you need to be skilled at. Some of the statistics and mathematics aspect of it. I can guide you through on that. All right. Any anyone? Cool. I hope you guys have enjoyed the session. Yeah, and I hope to meet you guys in person with a one-to-one setting.